A struggling janitor, drowning in debt, inherits a rotting garage everyone called worthless. Inside, piles of rusted metal, or so he thought. But when a stranger knocks on his door with an unbelievable offer, his life flips overnight. What he found inside would rewrite his future and stun the world. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what happens next. The last straw. The rain hammered against the thin windows of Ethan Caldwell's tiny apartment, a relentless drumming that matched the pounding in his temples. He sat at the chipped kitchen table, his callous fingers gripping the eviction notice like it might disintegrate if he held it tight enough. The words blurred in front of him. 48 hours to vacate. Across from him, his daughter Mia, just 22 and already carrying the weight of the world in her tired eyes, stirred a cup of cheap instant coffee. The steam curled upward, vanishing into the damp air of their cramped Detroit apartment. She hadn't slept. Neither had he. "Dad," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe I should drop out. Pick up more shifts at the hospital." Ethan's jaw tightened. No. The word came out harsher than he meant it. He reached across the table, covering her hand with his own. Her skin was cold. "You're not quitting school. We'll figure this out." But even as he said it, the hollowness in his chest grew. Figure out with what? His janitor's salary barely covered rent, let alone Mia's tuition. The medical bills from her mother's passing last year still loomed over them like a ghost. Every door they knocked on had slammed shut. Mia's phone buzzed, another notification from bank. She didn't need to open it. They both knew what it said. Ethan exhaled, rubbing his face. At 58, he had expected life to be not easier, maybe, but at least stable. Instead, he was one missed paycheck away from sleeping in his beat-up Chevy. Again, a sharp knock at the door made them both jump. Mia frowned. "Who's here this late?" Ethan pushed back on the table, the legs scraping against the linoleum. He wasn't expecting anyone. Maybe the landlord had decided 48 hours was too generous. He opened the door to a man in a tailored suit, holding an envelope. The lawyer, because that's what he had to be, with shoes that shiny, smiled politely. "Ethan Caldwell?" Ethan nodded, wary. "I'm Robert Vance, from Vance and Associates. I've been trying to reach you." He extended the envelope. "You've inherited a property from your late uncle, Marvin Caldwell." Ethan blinked. Uncle Marvin? The name was a relic from another lifetime, a recluse who lived in the middle of nowhere, Ohio, surrounded by what everyone in the family called that junk pile. Mia appeared at his shoulder, curiosity cutting through her exhaustion. "What kind of property?" The lawyer's smile didn't waver. "A garage. Well, more of a storage structure, really. Your uncle's collection." Ethan almost laughed. Of course. The one relative who might have left him something had left him a collapsing shed full of scrap metal. But then the lawyer added, "You're the sole heir. The deed is already in your name." Mia's fingers dug into Ethan's arm. "Dad?" Ethan took the envelope, his mind racing. It couldn't be worth anything. But what if it was? The lawyer tipped his head. "I'd advise visiting as soon as possible. The structure isn't secure." Ethan's pulse thudded in his ears. He hadn't prayed in years, but right then, he sent up a desperate plea. Let this be something. Anything. As the lawyer walked away, Mia turned to him, her eyes wide. "We're going, right?" Ethan stared at the envelope. It felt too light to hold answers, too flimsy to change their lives. But they had nothing else. "Pack a bag," he said. "We leave at dawn." A mountain of rust. The pre-dawn light painted the sky in shades of bruised purple as Ethan and Mia rolled out of Detroit in his 1998 Chevy Silverado. The truck groaned under the weight of years and neglect, much like its owner. Ethan's hands clenched the steering wheel, his knuckles white. Every pothole on I-75 sent a rattle through the chassis, a constant reminder how close they were falling apart, both the truck and their lives. Mia scrolled through her phone in the passenger seat, the blue glow casting shadows under her eyes. Google says the town near Uncle Marvin's place has a population of 1,200. There's one gas station and a diner that might still be in business. Ethan grunted. Sound about right. He remembered Marvin as a grizzled old man who'd sworn off people after his wife died decades ago. The few times Ethan had visited as a kid, the garage had been a chaotic maze of metal parts and oil stains. Mia chewed her bottom lip. Do you really think there's anything valuable in there? Ethan exhaled slowly. Honestly, probably not. But the lawyer's urgency nagged at him. Why track him down for a rotting shed unless there was something inside worth claiming? 6 hours later, they turned onto a gravel road swallowed by overgrown weeds. The truck's headlights revealed a sagging structure barely standing beneath a tangle of ivy. The roof dipped dangerously in the middle, as if one good snow would collapse the whole thing. Mia whistled. This is worse than I pictured. Ethan killed the engine. The silence was thick, broken only by the creak of settling wood and the distant cry of a crow. He stepped out, his boots crunching on gravel, and approached the garage like it might bite. The padlock on the door was rusted shut. "Stand back," he muttered, grabbing a crowbar from his truck bed. With one sharp wrench, the lock gave way. The door screeched open, releasing a gust of damp, metallic air. Mia coughed, waving a hand in front of her face. Smells like a junkyard in the basement had a baby. Ethan flicked on his flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, illuminating piles of stuff. Car parts, crates, tarps thrown haphazardly over lumpy shapes. Dust swirled in the light like lazy ghosts. Mia stepped inside, her sneakers kicking up decades of grime. "This is just junk, Dad." Her voice was small, defeated. Ethan's chest tightened. He'd let himself hope, just for a second. Stupid. He towed a rusted fender with his boot. Yeah, junk. Then Mia's phone flashlight caught a sliver of chrome beneath a moldy tarp. She tugged at the fabric, and it fell away with a dry rasp. A curved fender. Sleek. Unmistakable. Ethan's breath hitched. Mia wiped grime from the emblem with her thumb. Dad? Is this a Ferrari badge? Ethan's pulse roared in his ears. He dropped to his knees, frantically yanking off the rest of the tarp. A 1957 Ferrari 250 Testarossa, or what was left of one. The paint was faded, the leather seats cracked, but the lines, those perfect, legendary lines, were still there beneath the dust. Mia's voice was barely a whisper. This is real? Ethan ran a trembling hand over the hood. Yeah, and if this is here. His flashlight swung to the other shrouded shapes. How many more were hidden under those tarps? Before he could move, a shadow filled the doorway. Figure I'd find you here. Ethan spun. A man in a leather jacket leaned against the doorframe, chewing a toothpick. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Mia instinctively stepped closer to her dad. Who are you? The stranger ignored her, his gaze locked on Ethan. Marvin was a crafty old bastard. Hid these beauties from the world for years. He pushed off the doorframe, stepping inside. Tell you what, I'll save you the hassle. 20 grand. Cash. For the whole lot. Right now. Ethan's skin prickled. The offer was too fast. Too eager. Mia gripped his arm. Dad? The man's smile sharpened. Clock's ticking, Caldwell. This place could collapse any second. Take the money and walk away. Ethan looked at the Ferrari, at the other covered shapes, at his daughter's wide, hopeful eyes. Something wasn't right. He straightened, crossing his arms. We're not selling. Not yet. The stranger's grin vanished. For a heartbeat, his mask slipped, revealing something cold beneath. Then he shrugged. Suit yourself. But you might want to get an expert out here. Real fast. With that, he turned and disappeared into the sunlight. Mia let out a shaky breath. What was that about? Ethan watched the empty doorway, his stomach churning. I don't know, but we're not leaving until we find out exactly what's in this garage. The devil in the details. The stranger's footsteps crunched on gravel as he disappeared down the overgrown driveway, leaving Ethan and Mia standing in the dim light of the garage, surrounded by the ghosts of forgotten automobiles. A gust of wind whistled through the gaps in the rotting wood, making the entire structure groan like a living thing. Mia shivered, though the air was thick with summer heat. Who the hell was that guy? Ethan wiped sweat from his brow with the back of his hand, his fingers leaving streaks of dust and rust across his forehead. Someone who knew exactly what was in here before we did. His voice was low, tense. Mia turned back to the Ferrari, running her fingers along the curve of its fender. This thing's got to be worth something, right? Even if it's not running. Ethan exhaled sharply. If it's real, millions. The word hung in the air between them, heavy and surreal. Millions. Enough to erase every bill, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt. But the stranger's offer, 20 grand for everything, was a flashing red light in Ethan's mind. No one handed out cash like that unless they knew they were stealing something. We need to see what else is here, Ethan said, grabbing the edge of another tarp. Mia yanked at a different covering, revealing a low-slung silhouette with a long hood and rounded wheel wells. The dust settled, and she gasped. A 1963 Jaguar E-Type. "Dad," she whispered. Ethan's pulse hammered. He moved to the next shape, tearing away the tarp like a kid on Christmas morning. A 1955 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Gullwing. Then another, a 1962 Aston Martin DB4. Each car was a time capsule, buried under decades of neglect, but unmistakably priceless. Ethan's hands shook as he uncovered them, his mind racing. This wasn't just a few forgotten classics. This was a treasure trove. Mia's voice was breathless. There's got to be, 10 cars in here? Ethan's flashlight beam swept across the garage, catching the edges of still-covered shapes. More. A sharp crack echoed from above. They both flinched as a chunk of rotted wood splintered from the ceiling, crashing onto the hood of the Ferrari with a dull thud. Mia grabbed Ethan's arm. This place is coming down. He knew she was right. The garage was a death trap, its walls bowing, its roof sagging under the weight of time. But they couldn't leave. Not yet. "We need proof," Ethan said, fumbling for his phone. "Pictures. Documentation. Before we tell anyone about this." Mia nodded, already snapping photos of the Jaguar's VIN plate. "And then what? Call a museum? An auction house?" Ethan hesitated. The stranger's warning, "Get an expert out here real fast," echoed in his head. This wasn't just about money. This was about danger. Another sound cut through the silence, not the groan of wood, but the rumble of an engine, distant but getting closer. Mia's head snapped up. Someone's coming. Ethan killed his flashlight, plunging them into near darkness. Through the broken slats of garage walls, headlights cut through the trees. Not one car. Two. Mia's fingers dug into his arm. "Is it that guy again?" Ethan's mouth went dry. Worse. The engine shut off. Doors slammed. Voices, low and rough, carried through the still air. "Told you he'd show up." "Marvin's nephew? Guy's a damn janitor." "Doesn't matter. He's got the deed now." Ethan's blood turned to ice. They weren't here to make an offer. They were here to take. He grabbed Mia's hand. "Out the back. Now." She didn't argue. They moved like shadows, weaving between the cars toward the rear of the garage. Ethan's boot kicked an old oil can, sending it clattering across the concrete. The voices outside went silent. Then a shout. "Someone's inside." Ethan didn't look back. He shoved open a rusted side door, its hinges screaming in protest, and pulled Mia into the tall grass behind the garage. They ran, lungs burning, as heavy footsteps pounded after them. Mia stumbled, her sneaker catching on a root. Ethan yanked her upright just as a gunshot split the night. The bullet hit the tree beside them, spraying bark. Faster, Ethan snarled. They crashed through the underbrush, branches whipping at their arms and faces. The men's curses faded behind them, but Ethan didn't stop running until they reached the truck. Mia scrambled into the passenger seat, her breath coming in ragged gasps. "They shot at us." Ethan twisted the key, the engine roaring to life. He didn't bother with headlights, just threw the truck into gear and spun tires on gravel as they fishtailed onto the road. In the rear view mirror, figures emerged from the trees, silhouetted against the garage. Watching them flee, Mia twisted in her seat. Who were those guys? Ethan's grip on the wheel was bone white, the kind who don't take no for an answer. And they'd be back, proof in the blood. The Chevy's engine screamed as Ethan swerved onto Main Road, gravel pinging against the undercarriage. Mia clutched the dashboard, her knuckles white, her breath still coming in sharp gasps. The trees blurred into a dark wall beside them. "Slow down," she shouted. "You're going to wreck us before they even get the chance." Ethan eased his foot off the gas just enough to keep them from fishtailing, but his paws still hammered against his ribs. His eyes kept flicking to the rearview mirror, expecting headlights to come roaring up behind him at any second. "Those weren't just collectors back there," he muttered. Mia wiped sweat from her upper lip with a trembling hand. "Then what were they?" "People who kill for less than what's in that garage." The words hung between them, thick and suffocating. Mia turned her phone over in her hands. The screen cracked from when she dropped it during their sprint through the woods. The photos they'd taken were still there, blurry but unmistakable. Proof that Uncle Marvin's junk was a graveyard of automotive royalty. "We need to call the police," Mia said. Ethan barked a humorless laugh. "And tell them what? That we got shot at over some old cars that technically belong to us now, in a town where we don't know who's paid off." He shook his head. "We need leverage first. Documentation. Something that makes those cars ours beyond just a deed." Mia chewed her bottom lip. "The lawyer. Vance. He knew about the garage. Maybe he knows more." Ethan nodded slowly. The lawyer had tracked him down fast. Too fast. There had to be records. Paper trails. A sign for a roadside motel flashed by. Vacancy in flickering neon pink. Ethan made a split-second decision and cranked the wheel. "Where are we?" "Somewhere to breathe for 5 damn minutes." Ethan cut in. The parking lot was empty except for a rusted-out Pontiac and a flickering floodlight. Ethan parked at the far end, where shadows pooled deep between the trucks. He killed the engine, and for the first time since they fled, the silence fell heavy. Mia exhaled shakily. "I think I'm going to throw up." Ethan reached over and squeezed her shoulder. "Breathe. Just breathe." She nodded, pressing her forehead against the cool glass of the window. Outside, a moth battered itself against a flickering light in desperate circles. Ethan pulled out his phone and dialed the number on Vance's business card. It rang 3 times before a smooth voice answered. "Vance and Associates." "It's Ethan Caldwell. We need to talk. Now." A pause. Then, "I was wondering when you call." 20 minutes later, a silver Lexus pulled into the motel lot. Robert Vance stepped out, his polished shoes crunching on broken asphalt. He didn't look like a man who made house calls to roadside dives. Ethan met him outside, keeping his voice low. "Someone tried to kill us." Vance didn't blink. "I warned you the structure wasn't secure." "Not the damn garage. Men with guns." For the first time, Vance's composure cracked. His fingers tightened around his briefcase. "You saw them? Their faces." Mia, who'd been listening from the doorway, stepped forward. "You knew this would happen." Vance adjusted his tie, a nervous tick. "Your uncle had enemies, people who thought they had a claim to his collection." Ethan's patience snapped. "What aren't you telling us?" Vance exhaled through his nose. "Marvin didn't just collect those cars. He stole them." The words landed like a punch. Mia's eyes widened. "What?" "Back in the 70s, Marvin worked for a man named Dominic Varga, a collector with questionable connections. When their business relationship went south, Marvin took a few souvenirs on his way out." Vance's mouth twisted. "Varga's dead now, but his son? He's very much alive, and he's been looking for those cars for decades." Ethan's stomach dropped. "The guy in the leather jacket." Vance nodded grimly. "Luca Varga. And if he's here, that means he's not leaving without what he thinks is his." A truck roared past on the highway, its headlights cutting through the dark like a knife. Mia hugged herself. "So, what do we do?" Vance opened his briefcase and slid out a manila folder. "You prove those cars are yours. Beyond doubt." He handed Ethan a yellow document. "Marvin's will. Notarized. Lists every VIN, every title transfer. It's all legal." Ethan scanned the pages, his pulse kicking up again. This was it. Their lifeline. Vance's next words came out quiet. But paper won't stop a bullet. You need to move fast. Get those cars somewhere secure before Luca decides proof doesn't matter. Mia's voice was small. And then what? Vance looked at her, then Ethan. Then you decide if this fortune is worth the blood it's soaked in. Somewhere in the distance, a dog howled. The game had just changed. Ghosts in the machine. The motel room's air conditioner rattled like a dying animal, blowing stale air across the scattered documents on the bed. Ethan sat hunched over Marvin's will, tracing his finger down the list of numbers, each one a lifeline to a fortune. Mia paced near the window, peering through the cracked curtains every few seconds. He's still out there, she muttered, just sitting in his car. Ethan didn't need to ask who she meant. Vance had left 30 minutes ago, but hadn't driven away. A sentinel in his Lexus, watching, waiting. Why hasn't he left? Mia's thumbnail worried at her lower lip. Ethan folded the will carefully, because he knows we're going to do exactly what he wants. He met her eyes. We're going back. Mia's breath hitched. After what just happened, Dad, they shot at us. And now we know why. Ethan tapped the documents. These cars aren't just valuable. They're stolen. That makes them dangerous. So we walk away. Mia's voice cracked. Call the cops, the FBI, someone who can handle this. Ethan stood, the mattress springs groaning under his weight. He cupped her face, rough hands gentle. And lose everything? The tuition money? A real home. His thumb brushed the bruise forming on her wrist from their sprint through the woods. You deserve more than a life running from bills. Mia's eyes glistened, but she didn't pull away. I'd rather be broke than dead. A knock at the door made them both freeze. Not the front door. The back door. Ethan's pulse jackhammered. They were on the first floor. Someone had come to the rear alley. He grabbed a lamp from the nightstand, yanking its cord from the wall. Mia snatched her phone, finger hovering over 911. The knock came again. Quieter this time. Ethan crept forward, lamp raised like a club. He threw the door open and found a woman in grease-stained coveralls, her dark hair streaked with gray, holding a set of keys. You called, Well? She asked, like they were meeting for coffee. Ethan didn't lower the lamp. Who's asking? Lena Ruiz, Marvin's mechanic. She jerked her thumb toward a flatbed tow truck idling in the alley. Vance called me, said you'd need transport. Mia shouldered past Ethan. We're not moving those cars in the middle of the night. Lena smirked. Kid, if you want to wait till Varga's boys torch, be my guest. She tossed the keys to Ethan. Garage is 2 miles north. Has a hydraulic lift, security cameras, whole 9 yards. Paid up for 6 months. Ethan turned the keys over in his palm. Why help us? Lena's smile faded. Marvin was family. And family don't let snakes like Luca Varga win. She turned to leave, then paused. Oh, you'll want to check page 14 of that will. Marvin left you more than just rust buckets. The door clicked shut behind her. Mia grabbed the will, flipping frantically. Her breath caught. Dad. Ethan looked over her shoulder. Page 14, a safety deposit box key taped to the paper. Location, First National Bank of Toledo. Labeled, Insurance. The tow truck's headlights cut through the pre-dawn gloom as they rolled back toward Marvin's property. Ethan drove with one hand on the wheel, the other gripping Marvin's revolver, an old Colt .45 Lena had forgotten under the passenger seat. Mia monitored the rear view like a hawk. If Varga's guys are watching the garage, then we don't go in the front. Ethan killed the lights a quarter mile out, rolling to a stop behind a stand of trees. He pointed to a deer trail barely visible in the mist. Lena said there's a rear entrance for discreet deliveries. Mia's laugh was brittle. Of course there is. They moved silently through the woods, the revolver heavy in Ethan's waistband. The garage loomed ahead, its silhouette sagging but intact. No cars out front. No signs of life. Too quiet. Ethan's nape prickled. Something's wrong. Then he smelled it. Gasoline. Mia grabbed his arm. Dad. A flicker of movement near the garage's side door. A figure in black pouring something from a can. Ethan's blood turned to ice. They're torching it. The figure stepped back, striking a match. Ethan didn't think. He ran. Burning daylight. The match's tiny flame arced through the air like a falling star. Ethan's boots pounded the damp earth, his lungs burning as he charged toward the garage. He wasn't going to make it. Then, a gunshot cracked the night open. The match exploded midair, extinguished before it could touch gasoline-soaked wood. The figure in black whirled toward the trees where the shot had come from. Ethan skidded to a stop, his hand flying to a revolver in his waistband. He hadn't fired. From the shadows, Lena Ruiz stepped forward, a hunting rifle brace against her shoulder. Next one goes between your eyes, Ricky. The arsonist, Ricky, apparently froze. The gas can slip from his fingers, splashing fuel across his boots. Mia caught up to Ethan, gasping. Lena, the mechanic, kept her rifle trained on Ricky. Marvin always said Varga's boys were dumb, pouring gas on dry rotted wood. She spat to the side. Whole place would have gone up before you finished your little Molotov cocktail. Ricky's hands crept toward his pockets. Lena racked the rifle's bolt. Try it. He went still. Ethan's pulse roared in his ears. This changed everything. They had a prisoner. A witness. Proof that Luca Varga was willing to destroy millions in classic cars just to keep them out of Ethan's hands. Mia edged forward. We should call the police now. Lena snorted. And say what? This idiot failed at arson? They'll slap his wrist and cut him loose by sunrise. She jabbed the rifle barrel toward Ricky. But he's going to tell us where Luca's holed up first. Ricky's sneer revealed a gold-capped tooth. Go to hell. Lena smiled. It wasn't friendly. Marvin's got an old smelting forge in the back. Gets hot enough to melt aluminum. She took a step closer. How bad you want to find out what it does to skin? Ethan should have been shocked. Should have stopped her. But all he could think about was the bullet that had nearly taken Mia's head off hours earlier. He stayed silent. Ricky cracked first. Motel 6 off Route 23. Room 114. Lena lowered the rifle a fraction. See? Was that so hard? A twig snapped in the woods behind them. Everyone turned. A second figure emerged from the trees, taller, broader, with a jagged scar running from eyebrow to chin. He held a pistol loosely at his side. Ricky whimpered. Oh shit, Tony. Scarface, Tony. Tilted his head. Luca's going to be real disappointed, Ricky. Then he raised his gun and fired twice. Ricky dropped like a sack of flour, blood blooming across his chest. Lena shoved Mia down as Ethan yanked the revolver free. Tony was already vanishing into the trees, moving with terrifying speed. Ethan didn't chase him. He knelt beside Ricky, but the man's eyes were already glassy, dead before he hit the ground. Mia made a choke sound. He just... Lena cursed, kicking the gasket away. We need to move. Now. Ethan's hand shook. This wasn't about cars anymore. This was murder. The safety deposit box key burned a hole in his pocket. Whatever insurance Marvin left suddenly felt like their only lifeline. Toledo, Ethan said hoarsely, we need to get to that bank. Headlights flared through the trees. Vance's Lexus peeling onto property. The lawyer emerged, his usually pristine suit wrinkled, his face ashen. You need to see this, he said, holding out his phone. The screen showed a news alert. Breaking. First National Bank of Toledo robbed. Hostages taken. Ethan's blood turned to ice. Lena met his eyes. Varga's not playing games anymore. And the clock was ticking. The Devil's Ledger. The pre-dawn highway stretched empty before them, asphalt glistening under the Chevy's headlights like a black river. Ethan white-knuckled the steering wheel, pushing the truck 10 miles over the speed limit. Every shadow in the rear view made his shoulders tense. Any one of them could be Varga's men. Mia sat rigid in the passenger seat, Marvin's revolver resting in her lap. Her fingers traced the engraving on the grip. MC from Marvin Caldwell. We should have called the cops about Ricky, she said quietly. In the back seat, Lena cleaned her rifle with practice motions. And tell them what? That a known associate of Detroit's most ruthless crime family got himself shot during an arson attempt. She snorted. They'd pin it on us just to close the case. Vance adjusted his glasses, his reflection pale in the window. She's not wrong. Luca Varga owns half the judges in this county. Ethan's jaw tightened. The lawyer had insisted on coming, claiming he could authenticate whatever was in Marvin's safety deposit box. But the way his hands kept fidgeting made Ethan wonder if Vance was more afraid of being left behind than of facing Varga. The GPS announced their approach to Toledo. The city skyline emerged from the gloom, its tallest buildings haloed in mist. Mia straightened. The bank robbery, do you think? Yeah. Ethan took the exit too fast, making the tires squeal. Varga's cutting us off at the pass. First National Bank of Toledo came into view, or what was left of it. Police barricades surrounded the building, their lights painting the crowd of onlookers in pulsing blues and reds. News vans clustered like vultures. Ethan parked 3 blocks away in a Dunkin' Donuts lot. They watched as a SWAT team emerged from the bank, ushering out shell-shock hostages. Lena whistled low. He really went for it. Vance leaned forward. The safety deposit boxes are in the vault. If the robbers had inside help. Ethan cut him off. We need to know if Marvin's box was hit. Mia chewed her lip. How? Just walk up and ask. A slow smile spread across Lena's face. She reached into her coveralls and produced a laminated ID badge. Marvin kept friends in weird places, including the Toledo PD evidence locker. The badge read M. Ruiz, forensic technician. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Lena shrugged. What? I moonlight. 2 hours later, Lena returned to their makeshift war room, a cheap motel near the river. She tossed a blackened ledger onto the bed. Varga's boys torched half the vault, but they missed the good stuff. Ethan grabbed the book. The cover was singed, but the pages inside remained intact. Columns of numbers, dates, and names. Vance whispered, suddenly sweating. Those are Dominic Varga's offshore accounts. His shell companies. His bribes. Mia peered over Ethan's shoulder. This is blackmail, Lena said. Marvin's insurance. Every dirty deal the Varga family ever made, going back 40 years. Ethan flipped to the last page. A recent addition. A photo tucked into the crease. It showed Luca Varga shaking hands with a man in a police chief's uniform. The date stamp, 3 weeks ago. Vance made a strangled noise. That's why Luca wants this so badly. If this gets out... Lena lit a cigarette, blowing smoke toward the ceiling. He's not just a crime boss. He's got political ambitions now. This book ruins him. Mia touched the photo. So, what do we do with it? Outside, a car door slammed. Everyone froze. Ethan moved to the window, easing the curtain aside. A black SUV idled across the street. 2 men in suits, not cops, not reporters, scanned the motel's doors. Varga had found them. Ethan turned back to the group, his voice calm. We give them exactly what they want. Mia's eyes widened. What? He tucked the ledger into his waistband, covering it with his shirt. Lena, take me out the back. Vance, you're with me? Lena, crush your cigarette. You're going to get yourself killed. Ethan checked the revolver's cylinder. 5 rounds left. No, I'm going to end this. The knock at the door came right on schedule. The knocking turned to pounding. 3 heavy thuds that shook the flimsy motel door in its frame. Ethan took a steadying breath, the ledger's edges digging into his back where he tucked it against his skin. Ethan Caldwell. The voice outside was smooth, cultured, not the growl of a hired thug. Let's not make this ugly. Vance's breathing had gone shallow, his fingers twitching against his thighs. Lena gave Ethan one last questioning look before nudging Mia toward a bathroom, where a frosted window offered escape. Mia resisted, her eyes wide and pleading, but Lena mouthed trust him and guided her away. Ethan waited until he heard the window slide open before calling out, I'm opening the door. Hands where I can see them. The pounding stopped. Silence. Then, you have my word. Ethan turned the knob slowly. The man standing in the yellow glow of the motel's porch light wasn't what he'd expected. Mid-40s, maybe, with a tailored charcoal suit and salt and pepper hair. No visible weapons. No snarling bodyguards. Just a single gold pinky ring glinting on his left hand. Luca Varga. Up close, his resemblance to the photo in the ledger was uncanny. The same sharp jawline, the same calculating stillness in his dark eyes. But the man in the picture hadn't looked this tired. "You're younger than I expected," Luca said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. His gaze flicked to Vance, who shrank against the wall. "Robert, still notarizing your way through life. I see." Vance swallowed audibly. Ethan kept his hand near his waistband. "Where are your attack dogs?" "Parked down the street." Luca examined the room with detached curiosity, like he was assessing a hotel suite rather than a battlefield. "I prefer to handle delicate matters myself." A muffled clatter came from the bathroom. Mia or Lena slipping out the window. Luca's mouth quirked, but he didn't comment. Ethan cut to the chase. "You tried to burn down a fortune in classic cars. Shot at my daughter. Killed your own man. Ricky was an idiot." Luca adjusted his cufflinks. "As for the rest, business. Nothing personal." The casual dismissal sent heat up Ethan's neck. Nothing personal. Like nearly killing Mia was just another Tuesday. Luca sighed, as if reading his thoughts. "Look, my father stole those cars first, from collectors, from museums. Marvin just stole them back." He shrugged. "Now you've stolen them from me. The circle of life." Ethan snorted. "That why you robbed a bank? For the circle?" For the first time, Luca's mask slipped. A flicker of irritation. "I didn't order that." Tony got overzealous. A lie. Ethan could taste it. Luca reached inside his jacket. Ethan's fingers brushed the revolver. But Luca only produced a checkbook. "Name your price." "For the ledger." Ethan stared at him. "You think I wanted money?" "Everyone wants money." Luca uncapped a fountain pen with practiced ease. "How much to make this go away? $1 million? 2. The numbers hung in the air, thick as smoke. Ethan thought about the eviction notice, about Mia's tuition bills, about a lifetime of scrubbing other people's floors, while men like Luca bought their way out of consequences. He stepped forward, close enough to smell Luca's expensive cologne. "I want the cars. I want your dogs off my back. And I want you to look me in the eye and tell me you didn't know about Ricky." Luca's pen hovered over the check. "Is that all?" "No." Ethan pulled the ledger free, holding it between them. "I want you to remember this moment every time you try to screw someone over. Because next time, I won't be asking nicely." Luca's smile didn't reach his eyes. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Ethan flipped the ledger open to the photo of Luca and the police chief. "How many votes do you think this costs you?" Silence. Then Luca snapped his checkbook shut. "The cars are yours, but the ledger stays with me." Ethan had expected this. He tossed the book onto the bed, but kept one folded page tucked in his palm. His insurance policy. Luca snatched the ledger, thumbing through it with increasing urgency. "Where's the rest?" "Safe." Ethan nodded toward the door. "We're done here." For a heartbeat, he thought Luca might lunge, might call in those waiting men. But then the crime boss exhaled through his nose, straightening his tie with deliberate calm. "This isn't over," Luca said softly. Ethan held his gaze. "It is for today." The door clicked shut behind Luca. Only then did Ethan's knees threaten to buckle. Vance let out a shuddering breath. "He's going to kill us." Outside, tires screeched as the SUV pulled away. Ethan waited until his pulse steadied before texting Lena. Clear. The bathroom window creaked open. Mia tumbled through, Lena right behind her. "You're insane," Mia breathed, launching herself at Ethan. He hugged her tight, feeling the tremors running through her. Lena picked up the discarded checkbook, whistling. Could have taken the money. Ethan shook his head. Then we'd always be looking over our shoulders. Mia pulled back, studying his face. "So what now?" Now, the dangerous part. Ethan unfolded the page he'd kept, a single sheet detailing Dominic Varga's final, unfinished deal. A transaction involving a private hangar at Detroit Metro Airport, dated 2 days before Marvin's death. Lena's eyebrows shot up. You think there's more cars? Ethan pocketed the page. Only one way to find out. Somewhere in the night, a siren wailed. The game wasn't over yet. The hangar, the private airfield stretched before them under the pre-dawn sky, its runway lights glowing like fallen stars. Ethan cut the Chevy's headlights a quarter mile from the coordinates on Marvin's ledger page, letting the truck roll to a silent stop behind a maintenance shed. Mia craned her neck to peer through the windshield. That's it. Hangar 17 loomed in the distance, a massive steel structure with faded numbers peeling from its side. No guards, no cameras, just a single rusted padlock on the rolling door. Lena killed the engine on her tow truck, which she'd insisted on bringing just in case. She hopped down, slinging a duffel bag over her shoulder. Marvin always did like playing hide-and-seek with his toys. Ethan checked the revolver. Still 5 rounds. He'd added a 6 from Lena's stash, but it felt like bringing a butter knife to a gunfight. Vance lingered by the trucks, wringing his hands. This feels illegal. It's ours, Ethan said, though the words tasted uncertain. The ledger page had listed coordinates, not ownership papers. But after facing down Luca Varga, breaking into a hangar seemed almost mundane. Mia adjusted her gloves. Lena's idea, to avoid leaving fingerprints. If this goes south, I'm blaming all of you. They moved in silence, their footsteps swallowed by the wet tarmac. The padlock surrendered to Lena's bolt cutters with a satisfying snap. Ethan took point, heaving the hangar door open just enough to slip inside. Darkness. Then Lena's flashlight flared to life, its beam cutting through the gloom and illuminating the sleekest shape Ethan had ever seen. A 1962 Ferrari 250 GTO. Not just any GTO. The GTO. Rosso Corsa Red. Its curves untouched by time. Its chrome gleaming like it had rolled off the factory floor yesterday. Mia's gasp echoed off the metal walls. Oh my God! Lena let out a low whistle. Well, shit. No wonder Luca wanted that ledger back. Ethan's pulse pounded in his ears. A single 250 GTO had sold for $70 million last year, and this one looked pristine. Vance stumbled forward, his glasses reflecting the flashlight's glow. This can't be real. Lena was already circling the car, her fingers hovering over the flawless paint. Oh, it's real. And it's not alone. She swung the light to the left. A 1956 Jaguar D-Type. A 1937 Bugatti Type 57 SC. A 1970 Porsche 917K in Gulf livery. 8 cars in total, lined up like soldiers at attention, each one a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. Mia turned in a slow circle, her mouth open. This is a death sentence if we get caught, Lena finished. She jerked her chin toward a workbench in the corner. But first, we got to deal with that. Ethan followed her gaze. A vintage safe sat bolted to the floor, its dial gleaming. Vance adjusted his glasses. That's a Mossler Safe Company model. Nearly impossible to crack without. Lena unzipped her duffel bag, revealing a stethoscope and a drill. Birthday's June 12, 1945. Marvin never changed his combinations. Ethan blinked. You've done this before. She winked. Like I said, family business. As Lena worked the safe, Mia drifted toward the Bugatti, her fingertips brushing its fender. Dad! What was Uncle Marvin? A thief? A collector? Some kind of... Robin Hood for car nuts, Lena muttered, pressing the stethoscope to the safe. The safe door swung open with a metallic groan. Inside, stacks of yellowed envelopes. Lena grabbed one, tearing it open. Her eyebrows shot up. Well, hell. Ethan took the paper she offered. A bill of sale for the Ferrari, signed by Enzo Ferrari himself. Not stolen. Purchased. Vance snatched another envelope. This one, too. All original paperwork. All legal. His voice cracked. Ethan, these aren't just cars. They're time capsules. The holy grail of automotive history. A new sound cut through the hangar. The distant growl of engines. Lena was at the window in 2 strides. Black SUVs. 3 of them. Ethan's stomach dropped. Luca, Mia grabbed his arm. We have to go. Now. Lena was already throwing the documents back into the safe. Take the GTO. It's the crown jewel. Ethan hesitated. We can't just... Yes, you can. Lena slammed the safe shut and tossed him the keys. I'll hold them off. Mia's grip tightened. They'll kill you. Lena's smile was all teeth. Not before I take a few with me. She grabbed the duffel bag, now clearly full of more than just tools, and shoved them toward the Ferrari. Go! The first SUV screeched to a halt outside. Door slammed. Ethan made a split-second decision. He threw Mia into the Ferrari's passenger seat and climbed behind the wheel. The engine roared to life with sound like thunder. Lena kicked open the hangar's side door, her rifle raised. Say hello to Luca for me. Then the world exploded into noise and motion as the Ferrari shot forward, just as gunfire erupted behind them. The last mile. The Ferrari's engine screamed as Ethan slammed the accelerator, the tires smoking against the hangar's concrete floor. Mia braced herself against the dashboard as they shot through the still-open hangar door, the early morning light blinding after the darkness inside. Behind them, gunfire popped like firecrackers. Ethan didn't look back. He couldn't, not when Lena was buying their escape with bullets and borrowed time. Hold on. Ethan wrenched the wheel left, skirting around a fuel truck as the first black SUV gave chase. The Ferrari handled like a dream, like it was alive under his hands, but the airfield's maze of service roads gave them no clear exit. Mia twisted in her seat, her face pale. They're gaining. Ethan's knuckles whitened on the wheel. He spotted the chain-link fence ahead, the perimeter. Beyond it, open road. No gate, no choice. Cover your face. He floored it. The Ferrari hit the fence at 80 miles per hour. Metal screeched, the hood buckling as they tore through. The windshield cracked into a spiderweb of fractures, but held. Mia screamed as they bounced on the access road, the Ferrari suspension bottoming out. The speedometer needle trembled at 90, then 100. The engine's roar filled the cabin. In the rear view, 2 SUVs punched through the ruined fence. The third stayed behind, smoke curling from the hangar. Ethan's chest tightened. Lena, but there was no time to think. The first SUV rammed their bumper, sending the Ferrari fishtailing. Mia fumbled with her phone. I'm calling 911. Tell them we're being shot at on Route 23. Ethan swerved around a semi, horns blaring. The SUVs matched them move for move. A muzzle flash. Their side mirror exploded in a shower of glass. Mia ducked, still shouting into the phone. Yes, gunfire. Near the... Ethan spotted their chance. A construction zone ahead, its lanes narrowed to 1. He waited until the last possible second, then yanked the wheel right, cutting across 3 lanes of traffic. The lead SUV wasn't so lucky. It plowed into a barrier, flipping end over end in a cacophony of twisting metal. 1 down. The second SUV kept coming. Ethan took the next exit at a speed that should have rolled them. The Ferrari held, its tires screeching as they skidded onto a residential street. Mia gasped. Dad! Up ahead! A police barricade. 3 cruisers, lights flashing. Ethan made his decision in a heartbeat. He braked hard, spinning the wheel to put the Ferrari into a control slide, coming to a stop sideways just feet from the cops. Hands up, engine off. The remaining SUV screeched to a halt 50 yards back. For a terrible moment, no one moved. Then it reversed violently and disappeared. The officers approached cautiously, guns drawn. Mia threw her door open, hands raised. Thank God. They were shooting at us. Ethan stayed still, his heart hammering. One wrong move and they'd be the ones in cuffs, driving a stolen Ferrari worth more than this entire neighborhood. But then the oldest cop lowered his weapon, peering at the car. Is that a 250 GTO? 1 week later, the press called it the Miracle Garage. Experts from Sotheby's and RM Auctions swarmed Marvin's property, cataloging each discovery with hushed reverence. The legal battles would take years, but with Vance's help and the paperwork from the hangar safe, Every car confirmed as rightfully Marvin's. And now Ethan's. Lena had turned up 3 days after the chase with a bullet graze on her arm and a wicked grin. Told you I'd be fine. The authorities had questions, of course, about Luca Varga, about the gunfight at the hangar, but with the ledger's remaining pages as leverage, and a police chief suddenly eager to distance himself from organized crime, the investigation mysteriously stalled. On the morning the first auction check cleared, Ethan stood with Mia outside her dorm, the keys to a modest Honda Civic in her hand. "No more tuition worries," he said. "No more ramen for dinner." Mia hugged him tight. "Just promise me one thing." "Anything." She pulled back, her eyes serious. "Keep the Chevy, for nostalgia's sake." Ethan laughed. "Some things were worth more than money. What would you do if you inherited a fortune? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more incredible true stories.